Hey everybody, welcome to the Sheepdog Project. I know it's been a long hiatus. We apologize for that. But there are only two of us, and when you're hunting Nazis, that does take some time, takes you out of the country a little bit. But I am back. Tim is back as well. Say hello, Tim.
Yes, I'm back.
We're both very excited to be here. A lot of excited things to talk to you about today. First things first, let's do some housekeeping right out of the gate. Upcoming Sheepdog courses coming up in the pipeline. We get a lot of questions about this. People would rather ask Tim and I on social media as opposed to going to sheepdogresponse.com and taking a look under courses, but we're going to talk about that now. We have, the good news is we have a course coming up in August. The bad news is that course is sold out, so I'm sorry you cannot attend it.
Unless you're awesome.
And email us and make a case. Yeah.
Well, for example, the Tulsa course was sold out, and we had this incredible, I'm not going to name him because he's a remarkable, humble guy, but essentially this super bad dude walks out during a home invasion with an infant, a toddler in his arms with a gun to this kid's head, and this police officer takes this guy out. And he emails and says, hey man, I want to come to this course, and we're gonna make room. So if you just got your butt beat in on the street, or you own a convenience store and you've gotten robbed 8 times, we will find a way to make sure that you get the information that you need. If you live in Manchester, if you live in London, if you live in Paris, if you're gonna be traveling to Brussels, if you're gonna be going to Belgium, actually anywhere where you just come. So it's sold out, kind of. Asterisk. There's no room, but I'll make room. There's always room for one more.
Contact us. Hit us up. Coming up September 20th through 21st in New Jersey. What up, Jersey? We got a law enforcement military only course. Immediately following that, September 22nd to 24th, is a level 1 Sheepdog course. So that's open to anyone. If you are listening to this and you are in New Jersey, put down your hair care product, put down your whey protein, go to the sheepdogresponse.com and register for this course.
Walk out of the tanning salon.
And
go
immediately.
Start training right now. Listen, you guys can ask anytime. When I'm doing a live feed, it's not that it irritates me, maybe it does. Like, hey man, come to Colorado, or come to New York, or come to, there's only a few of us, and I can't go everywhere in the world. You guys have to come to us. So if you're in the Northeast anywhere, if South Carolina all the way up to Canada, come to this course. Go to New Jersey, bring some ammo, start training right now, because every single moment of every single day that we're training, we're getting after it.
You know what? And for you people that are complaining about proximity, let's say you live in Philly and you think Jersey is too far, which would be a little bit ridiculous, because obviously Tim and I in Texas, just to see a couple of our close friends, we drive that distance. But I want to point out that we have people come in from Canada. We've had people come from as far away as Thailand to attend our courses. So don't be complaining about jumping on the turnpike and going just a few exits up. If you are anywhere in the area, you need to take advantage of this, because who knows when we'll be back again. So you need to take advantage of it. Also, October 11th through 12th, we have a law enforcement military course in Utah. And following that, we have a level 1 course open to anyone, also in Utah. That's October 13th through 15th. Then we have a law enforcement military only course in Ponca City, Oklahoma on October 28th and 29th. In November, backed by popular demand, we have a Spectrum of Tactical Emergency Care course. It's going to be right here in Austin, Texas. That's November 10th through 12th. Made it coincide with Veterans Day weekend because a lot of people have it off and most people don't tend to travel. Law enforcement military course coming up December 6th and 7th. So commemorate Pearl Harbor Day by putting some lead down range in Las Vegas, Nevada. Level 1 open to anyone course immediately following that on December 8th through 10th, also in Las Vegas. So if I talk too fast, I'll go over some of these again at the end of the podcast, but go to sheepdogresponse.com, check out our courses, go to the sheepdogstore.com, check out our products. There's a new Tim Kennedy shirt for sale where Tim Kennedy is stabbing a dude by popular demand, because most people said that's what they wanted to see more than anything, was Tim Kennedy stabbing somebody. So that is for sale. And not to give anything away, but we have another really cool t-shirt that is in the design process now that should be for sale very soon. So Tim, it's been an interesting last 6 to 8 weeks. We've had a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, this is I'm not saying there's been a paradigm shift, but my perspective might have shifted somewhat, slipped gradually to one way. You know, we this idea of being the hardest person somebody ever tries to kill, you know, be hard to kill, hashtag hard to kill. What does that look like? You know, obviously that's going to take some shooting. That's going to take some martial arts, some hand-to-hand, some wrestling, some boxing, some kickboxing, some judo, development of close quarter combat skills. It's also going to take some diet, you know, eating the right thing, not drinking too much alcohol. It's going to take some sleep. It's going to bed, and letting your body do what it needs to do, recover. And it's going to take physical training. When you have external stressors, when rounds start going off, somebody's screaming at you, you see a bunch of people running out of a building and you don't know why, and your heart starts racing. What have you done to prepare your body for that moment?
Right.
You know, what have you done to physiologically prepare your, if you start breaking down systems, you know, not just the muscles, not just your nervous system and your brain, you know, and like your lung capacity and your heart rate, all of these little tiny things, what have you done to get ready for that? So as I was just, I was in Norway, and you would talk about taxing on your body, making your body be pushed to the limit of kind of the human capability. Everybody knows I've fought at the highest level in mixed martial arts, that I am a Green Beret, Ranger qualified Special Forces sniper, and I'm still doing that. Last month, I'm jumping out of a Black Hawk into the water to get on a Zodiac, to go to shore, to then hop in a different Zodiac to go pick up other dudes that are jumping out of the Black Hawk into the water so they don't drown. As I was in Norway, in a 36-hour time frame, I went from stepping off the side of a 400-foot cliff to find an entrance to a tunnel, to get inside of that tunnel, to have portions of that tunnel start collapsing on me. Ooh. As I was 12, 13 feet under cement, with not enough room to breathe or to move. And all I had was a grinder and a really small battery-powered circular saw, and a pry bar, a Gerber pry bar. Fast forward 36 hours, I'm stepping off a boat with a tri-mixture of gas to go down 200 feet in a tech dive into a U-boat that only a few people on the earth have ever seen in their life. Then, the very next day, I have to get on a plane and fly to San Francisco from Norway. After diving, after stepping off this cliff, after being in a cave that's collapsing on me, to go do some really other stupid things on the back of a motorcycle and with a parachute. So what do we do? What do I do? What does Mike do? Like, what is this regiment? What is this idea of the current day warrior? So it's not just being hard to kill, but it's also being capable of surviving. You know, the life is like a burpee. You know, you're going to get down, and it's going to suck. Then the question is, how efficiently and how quickly can you get back up? And then guess what's going to happen? You're going to go back down again.
Yeah.
And it's going to keep going until the day you die. Now, you're either going to get really good at it, you're either going to be able to get up, you're going to be able to stand up, and you're going to be able to get back down. So we're going to talk about, how do we do this? How do we become the current day Spartan? How do we become the samurai? What does the 21st century warrior really look like? And we got Doc here to give us our medical expertise.
And the old guy input as well.
Yeah.
Because the old guy aspect of it is something that's different. You brought up a great point when you talked about, what if you are somewhere and the shit goes down? How's your body going to react to that? And when you think about the best built skyscrapers out there, what do we know about how they build those buildings? There's something called pre-stressed concrete that they put in those buildings, right? So they don't just put a slab of concrete in there and say, well, it's concrete, it's good enough. They pre-stress that. And if you don't know exactly what that is, I encourage you to Google. It'd be a lot better than me giving an engineering explanation of what it is. But you have to pre-stress your body as well. Anytime, you hear all these stories through the years about people being confronted with stressful situations. Like a guy was working in a convenience store and two thugs came in and they pulled a gun on him and they were to rob the cash register, and the guy had a heart attack just from the stress of it. Because that's a guy whose his resting heart rate was probably in the 90s, but probably he was never over 100, just walking in and unlocking the store and walking over and grabbing a burrito and a pack of smokes every day. But the people that are successful in high stress situations are the people that have stressed their bodies before that, and I've talked about this time and again on this podcast, as has Tim, stress inoculation. And since it's a lot harder to scare yourself, unless you're literally going to do like Inspector Clouseau in the Pink Panther movies and hire your houseboy to attack you and try to kill you all the time. The only way that you're going to be able to do that is through physical fitness. So doing those burpees, getting on that treadmill, getting on that stationary bike, picking up that kettlebell, getting in the ring, getting on the mat, whatever it might be, so that when the time comes that the adrenaline kicks in and your heart goes into overdrive, the physical pathways are already there. You're already strong enough. You already have good enough cardio to handle it. So all you've got to do is react to the event. You're not then hampered by your physical fitness on top of everything else. And you mentioned diet and how important that is. And I'll be quite frank about this. So watching Game of Thrones last night, we decided to have Chinese food in the Simpson household, and then we decided to wash it down with a couple of milkshakes. And I got to tell you, I did the exact same cardio workout this Monday morning that I did last Monday morning. The key difference was my diet the night before, and I was in a lot more pain this morning because basically I wasn't getting that good high octane gas. I was getting that crappy low octane gas, and you can feel a difference, and I know you can relate to that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no magic behind how this body works. There's nothing special about Shane Steiner. There's nothing special about Blake or me. We just do the work. We try to do the right thing. We try to feed our bodies the right, real food so that we can go and perform. It has been now 15 years in special operations. Before special operations, I don't know, a lot of people don't know this. Before that, I had gone to the police academy and was going down the course and the route, working in different police departments, figuring out which one I was going to go and work at. And then before that, right at 18, I was an EMT firefighter. And I did that until I was 21, until I was allowed to go to the police academy. So I started in this kind of, not adrenaline, but in the realm of things are going to go wrong around me all the time, and that's why they put us in this job. Stopping bleeding on a car wreck, trying to get a door open with the jaws of life, trying to shatter a window or rappel or deal with a fire. I was working in Atascadero, California. It was a rural city in between 4 hours north of LA and 4 hours south of San Francisco in central California. We had fires and wildland fires and enough, population of 28,000 to 31,000 that we would have enough medical calls for us to stay on point. But I was 19 when I had my first multiple casualty event, and I had to do real triage, where a van driving down the 101 in between Atascadero and San Luis Obispo, California, the driver had fallen asleep, and the van was a 15-pack passenger van, and it was full of women and kids on a church trip, and it was packed. There's 13, 14 people inside of it. Driver fell asleep, jerked himself awake, and he rolled it at almost 80 miles an hour. Every time that vehicle flipped, nobody was wearing a seatbelt, it ejected these women and children. And I remember pulling up, the call was just that there was a TC, a traffic collision on the 101, and nobody knew anything else. We're looking for the vehicles involved, and we found the van, And as we're moving towards the van, I'm hearing in this tall grass whimpering and crying. And that's the revelation that we have. I have no idea how many bodies. We don't have any idea of their condition. Nobody was walking, and nobody had any information. None of them could talk to tell us what happened or who was here or how many there were. So we started walking and moving through these weeds, trying to find these young women and children and figure out which ones we're going to spend time on to try and save. This is me at 19. My heart rate never went above 80. I never started breathing. I never got tunnel vision. And I'm an incredibly young, naive, unprepared person to be doing this. I had been an EMT for 1 year and, jerked awake from sleep from fire station number 2, hopping on a call to go to a TC to walk into this. So the only thing that I can look at retrospectively about why I was so okay, and a lot of the people on the call ended up with some serious post-traumatic stress. It was required for us to see counselors, to talk to a psychologist. We had group therapy, and I was like, man, this is weird. Am I okay? Because I'm not having problems like everybody else is having. I was great on scene. I did all the things I was supposed to do. The guy I was with, Tom Way, a man that he was one of the more senior paramedics, and Dave Payton. They were okay. The thing that was similar between all of us, we were all athletes. I was a collegiate athlete, and I was 2 years out of high school, and I wrestled very competitively. At that time, at 19, I was already a blossoming mixed martial arts fighter. I was about to turn pro. I think I had maybe 20 amateur fights at that point. Still very competitive, training at the pit. So my brain worked, my heart worked, my lungs worked. All the things that were supposed to happen were happening. And I look back and I really didn't make very many mistakes. Yeah, I could have done things better had I had more experience, had I had more knowledge, had I had the training that Mike Simpson has across from me. But the thing that maybe saved some lives and the thing that saved my soul and my brain, and I was listening to these other paramedics as we started calling in more ambulances, and these guys were running through the weeds trying to find bodies, and then watching guys fall on their knees because they couldn't breathe because they were so tired and they couldn't find bodies and they're stressed. And then I see that same guy that was on his knees back at the ambulance on oxygen himself because he worked himself into such a frenzy that he couldn't even help these women and children that had been ejected out of their van. That was me at 19. So, physical fitness. What have you done and what are you doing that's going to prepare you for the things that we're going to see and the things that we're going to have to do? I hate bringing up the fact that this world's changing, but God dang it is. The places I used to party at as a kid, the places that I used to oh yeah, man, let's go to Paris. Let's go to Berlin. Yeah, let's go to London, man. Let's go have some fun. People are dying there. People are having acid thrown on their face in London. People are driving trucks down London Bridge and hopping out and stabbing people. People are in Paris at every single opportunity, at every celebration of freedom and looking for a chance to hurt innocent people. These are places that I loved going to, and now they're dangerous. Now I won't let my kids, no, please don't go there. Let's go to some unpopulated rural beach that nobody's going to visit, because then I don't have to worry about somebody throwing acid on you because you're wearing a bikini. What are you doing to get ready for this?
And a key thing that you said there from the story, when you talked about one of the other paramedics who had to get care himself. If you're not physically prepared. When you're flying on an airline, the thing they always tell you in the pre-flight briefing, make sure you apply your own oxygen mask before applying a child's oxygen mask. And the reason for that is you cannot help others if you are not in a state to continue. So if you haven't prepared for that and you're not in a state, here, if you're a paramedic, if you're a firefighter, police officer, if you're in the military, you're supposed to be the one that's being a sheepdog. But if in the middle of that you physically cannot keep up, it doesn't matter how many times you went to the range. It doesn't matter how many cool guns you own. It doesn't matter what cool optics you have. It doesn't matter how many times you have listened to the Sheepdog Project podcast and how many posters of Tim Kennedy you have in your room. When the rubber meets the road, if you cannot physically perform at that level, then you're not a sheepdog, no matter how prepared you think you were. And that's a big thing that we preach about in our programs and on this podcast quite a bit, is having a good evaluation of yourself and knowing if you're an asset or a liability in that respect. And it's extremely important. You talked about, Tim, that the people that tend to perform well were athletes in that situation, and it's not. This has been a subject of a lot of debate and multiple studies in the medical field. Is it a chicken or is it an egg? What is it that makes people like that perform better in those situations? Is it solely because they are physically in better shape, so that takes mental stress off in the situation? Or is it because the people that are typically attracted to being high-level athletes deal with stress better to begin with? Because you can't minimize the fact, obviously sporting events typically are not life and death scenarios, although there are certainly times in the cage where it comes very close to that, if not being that. But you are stressing yourself. You are putting yourself in situations where you have to think on the fly, where you have to perform very much left brain, right brain, without worrying about what your physical capabilities are, because that's already been taken care of. So again, that's another reason to be physically fit and to get out there and motivate yourself. For those that don't know, so Tim and I, although we're close friends and we work together and we live close together, the only way for me really to spend quality time with Tim is I have to connect it to some type of training event. So after a long period of time of us not getting to hang out with one another, in order for me to hang out with Tim this past weekend, I had to do it on the mat. So there was a Hoyler Gracie Jiu-Jitsu seminar here in town, so I had to go to that in order to have some quality time with Tim. And it was great, got some great training out of it. And at the end, Tim, you asked what I thought was a really important question. You asked Master Gracie about how is it that you continue to stay motivated, and how is it that you continue to innovate even at his high level. I mean, he's a Gracie, for goodness sake. I mean, he's a coral belt. Probably very soon to get promoted to red belt, which it doesn't go any higher than that. He's been doing this. He's just a little bit older than me. He's 54 years old. He's been doing this for 50 years, and his face lights up when he steps on the mat. He still has that interest. He still has that passion and that drive. And he talked a lot about being able to see it through the student's eyes and getting your motivation from that. But how do you do it day in, day out? How do you motivate yourself? Aside from the fact that we know that there's an immense reward on the other side of hard work, how do you make the act in and of itself rewarding? How do you motivate yourself in the moment to do that physical activity?
Like, the big picture is, I still want to get in it so bad. Mm-hmm. I want people. I'm at home when people are screaming. I'm at home when everyone is scared and running and they don't know what to do. That is in that moment the clearest for me, and I know why I was put on this damn earth. The reason I love that so much, and I want to be there. I want to be in Paris when that happens. I want to be in London when that happens. I want to be in Manchester when that happens. Not that I'm going to go to an Ariel Grande concert, but man, I really would. If that puts me in the wrong place at the wrong time for everybody else, but it's the right time and the right place for me. So I'm motivated for that reason, that I still, at 15 years in special operations, I still have another 10 years of doing this job, that I now have an opportunity and I have the responsibility to prepare the next generation of Green Berets, of Rangers, of Navy SEALs, of MARSOC guys, of Air Force PJs, of SWAT officers, of canine officers, of firefighters. We have the obligation of getting these guys ready for what's coming. And we know what's coming because we've already seen it.
Yeah.
The thing that's happening everywhere in the world right now, we saw 10 years ago.
Yeah.
What they're doing in London this past 2 months, we saw.
Yeah, none of this is new.
At all.
No, this has been going on for decades.
You know, like driving down on a moped with a cup full of acid. Mm-hmm. Yeah, guess what? I saw that in 2006.
Yeah.
You know? 11 years ago. You know, walking and finding a group of girls that you didn't think are dressed appropriately and then raping them. You know? Because it's not in line with your fanatic views. Yeah, we saw that in Baghdad in 2005. Mm-hmm. You know, like, this is nothing new. And they've been doing it for centuries. So, Mike, me, Jocko Willink, Rudy Reyes, like, Matt Best, Nick Palmisano, all of us, you know, if you're going to find some commonality about these, yeah, we're now kind of figureheads and representatives of the military community and what we, you know, the tip of the spear. We all train, you know, we all shoot, we all fight, and we're not going to stop. You know, nothing's going to change. I'm not going to change. I'm just going to keep training. So what do I look for in that moment? I look for pain. I look for suffering. I look for finding in that moment, this morning's workout, where I'm an atomic athlete. We're doing burpees, 100-meter sprints, jumping lunges, max back squat at, what was I doing? 255 pounds for 10 times. In between pull-ups, push-ups, sprints, dips, jumping lunges, burpees, and anything else that they can think of that was hurting us. I was looking for pain. I was looking for my body and brain to want to quit, and then I stayed right there because that's where I know the sweet spot is. I know that line that separates winning and losing, surviving and dying, it's 1%. You know, there's 49.5 on either side of it, success and failure. 49.5% on one side, 49.5% on the other side. Everything else that matters, that happens, is going to be in that 1%, in that middle line. And you got to find that razor edge, and you got to stay there. And that freaking hurts.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the spectrum and talk about the sweet spot. On this end of the spectrum, we have the absolute, we'll call it the best workout that you could possibly do to be in optimum physical condition. And on this end of the spectrum, we have doing nothing, staying on the couch. Somewhere in between, we have what might not be the optimal workout. It might not be the absolute best workout that you can do, but it's a workout that you can find interest in and that you can make yourself do. And I'm not talking about because it's easy. I'm talking about because it keeps you interested. Where do you, between those last two, we're not even, staying on the couch and doing nothing's not even an option. But between those last two, for the average person out there that has to work a 9 to 5 or whatever it might be, if they had to choose, this is theoretical, between a workout that they know they're going to enjoy doing, it might be a 75-80% output workout, but they know it's going to maintain their interest to the point that they can do it 4 to 5 times a week, as opposed to the 100% output workout that they're only going to be able to make themselves do a couple times a week, either because of time constraints or because of mentally how it beats them down. What do you tell to somebody like that? What should they be doing?
What's the purpose? What is the objective of why you're training there? If you're working out to look good, man, do whatever the hell you want. I don't care. But if you are working out because you want to be able to protect your family, if you want to be able to protect your daughters, if you want to be able to protect your son, if you want to be able to protect your wife, if you know you're going to be driving in the patrol car and you're going to roll up on something and you're going to have to save or protect some innocents' lives, man, you don't have a choice. There's no option. You don't get to have the choice of choosing the fun workout. Not an option. Sorry. You're going to have to own it. You're going to have to step up and realize that you volunteered for this, and you're going to have to do the work that's associated with success. In our world, success means that you saved a life. Failure means that a bunch of people just died because you're a lazy piece of shit.
What do you say to, and this is an argument that has raged back and forth. There used to be a saying, what do you do to work out? I do jujitsu. What do you do for cardio? I do more jujitsu. And that was something, especially for me, for a long time. I was like, well, if I have more time, then I need to find, is there a noon class to go jujitsu? And, if I can work out twice a day in the middle of the day and the evening, should I be doing a midday jujitsu class and an evening jujitsu class? What's your philosophy as far as being a well-rounded athlete and developing the skills, but also developing your strength and fitness? Do you think, and I think I know what your answer is going to be, but do you think that, doing 2-3 a day jujitsu is better, or doing 2-3 times a week jujitsu and doing cardio and doing strength and everything else in order to be well-rounded and be a proper sheepdog, that's the proper approach?
I mean, definitely the latter. Variety is the spice of life, and we have so much that we have to be good at our job. You can't just do one thing. So I love jiu-jitsu. If I had my choice, my beautiful daughter this morning, and as a matter of fact, I was like, hey, you going to work out with me? She's like, no, that workout doesn't look fun. And she's totally right. It was horrible. There was nothing fun about doing 100-meter sprints after burpees and jumping lunges. There's nothing fun about that. But I knew I needed to do it. And I knew yesterday, as I pulled my bow out, and I was going to just do some little marksmanship training with my bow, what I started doing before I took every shot, I started doing burpees. I'd do 10 burpees. Then I'd grab an arrow, and then I'd shoot at my target from 50 meters away, making sure I had a 5 to 10 inch grouping. Because if I just climbed a tree stand, or if I'm walking down an animal that I want to put on my family's table to eat, it's not going to be in my backyard, relaxed, early evening, kind of a cool breeze blowing in my hair. I'm going to be tired. I'm going to be breaking brush. I'm going to be holding my breath because I don't want them to hear me. Physiologically, my body's going to be doing some things. So why don't I just go ahead and imitate, duplicate, replicate what my body's going to be doing before I release and loose that arrow? It's the same thing. I love jiu-jitsu. I could do jiu-jitsu every single day, 5 times a day, and I would love every moment of it. But I'm not going to get better. I'm not going to get stronger. I'm not going to get faster. I'm not going to get better at sprinting, picking up a car, tearing off a door, being able to grab somebody by the face and put them through a wall by doing jiu-jitsu. I want to be able to do those things. I want to be able to walk up to a car door, and I don't need the jaws of life. I can just grab that bitch and tear it open. Where if I don't have a window punch, even though I always do, I can put my fist through that window if I need to get somebody out of it. That if somebody grabs me, they're going to feel strength that they've never imagined existed because I train for that. And I have to do all these other things. Those things translate into jiu-jitsu, so I get better at jiu-jitsu. So I'm still faster and stronger and harder to submit. But then all those other things make me faster, stronger, and harder to kill. And that's what I love being.
That's pretty much what I thought your answer would be, and you did not disappoint me. Another thing that Master Gracie said, and as a physician, as a physician and as an older guy, I really appreciated this. The fact that he talked about as much as you want to, trying to work through injuries oftentimes is counterproductive. What has and I know specifically from having worked with you when you're in fight camp, sometimes that's not even an option. You just have to find a way around it. But what has your philosophy been as far as, the old saying always is, you have to know the difference between pain and injury. How do you approach that?
Man, that's a tough line to walk. I've worked through injuries, I've fought through injuries, and I regret doing so. When I fought at the old main event for the UFC for Fight for the Troops 3, I had a horrifically torn quad muscle. I couldn't walk. If you go back and look at that video of me walking out to the cage, I had to jump on one leg to get up the steps to get inside of the octagon. And if you look at what Rafael Natal did in the first round, he kicked my leg and I fell over because I could not even stand. That's stupid. That is just idiotic. That was pride. That was a lot of emotion, knowing that this is a fight for the troops, and they all came to see me, and I'm not going to go out, and I'm not going to disappoint them. I'm not going to let them down. Man, the body is a very vulnerable thing. I think a lot of people forget. They look at us, they look at Mike, they look at Jocko, they look at me. Like, these dudes are badasses, like they're chiseled out of stone, and like nothing can hurt them.
I don't think anybody is ever looking at me and saying that.
It could be further from the truth, though. We are so vulnerable as everybody else, and we get hurt just as often as everybody else does. We do the right things. We do the things that everybody else. We do the hard right and not the easy wrong. Mike and I had a conference call right before we started recording this, and as we're sitting there doing it, I keep putting the phone on mute because I just got done with my workout, and I'm eating a peach, and I'm feeding my body with some lean proteins as I'm drinking my water, trying to get recovery and trying to get that protein immediately into my body post-workout in that prime time as soon as I got done. Because that's the right thing to do. It would have been way easier just to sit down and do the conference call and, blah, 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 blah. And as soon as we get done with this, I'm going to go get an ice bath because I know I'm going to train again this afternoon and evening. And it's 100-degree heat here in Central Texas, and I have to go shoot. So these are all things I know I have to do, but for me to be able to do them, I have to do all those other things in between there. The recovery, the discipline of forcing my body to rest and forcing my body to have the right nutrients. Getting done with that workout, walking next door to the worst, most disgusting place on the planet, Starbucks, and getting that ice cold macchiato coffee, or I don't even know what it is because I won't step foot in there. But that would have been delicious. It would have been easy to do. But hell no am I putting that stuff in my body. I'm going to go get some real food. The things that my body needs to help me recover so I can go and do another ridiculously horrible, painful workout. So then tomorrow, as my body's adapting, and as I'm walking down the street in Austin, Texas by the Capitol, and somebody's like, oh man, I don't like Austin, Texas. They stand for a bunch of things I don't like. Man, they're super lovers of freedom. So I'm gonna go try to blow that place up, or I'm gonna go try to hurt some people. Man, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be faster. I'm gonna be more lethal. And I'm just gonna have a real hard time suppressing the smirk on my face, because that guy hasn't been training, but I have been.
One thing that I've noticed too is when I am working out the way that I should be, my body tells me what I should be eating. There's a switch in my mind that flips, and I start craving the healthier foods. I remember the first time I ever kind of medically did any type of analysis on this. A couple guys on my team were going through pre-scuba back in 7th group, and one of the guys talked about, he goes, I get home at night and all I can think about is rare steaks and whole milk. Like, that's all I want. He's like, he said, you could come at me with a pizza or a Krispy Kreme or anything else right now. I have zero interest in that. It's like my body is telling me everything that I need to be eating. And that's a big thing that I notice. And you can't be too quick. It's not going to come with the first workout. You know, if you say, all right, today's the day that I'm going to get in the gym, and you go to the gym and you do that hard workout, and that's not a grounds to reward yourself after one workout. That's a step. And that's not the time to go get the chocolate shake or the macchiato or whatever it might be. So I think that's an extremely important point, is you have to listen to your body. You have to listen to your body when it comes to diet. You have to listen to your body when it comes to injury, because your body's going to tell you what you can and can't do. And there are times that you're not going to have a choice when it comes to injury. You're going to have to take that time off. And I know the way that I thought about it when I was in my 20s and 30s. And I look at it now in my 50s at the injuries that I have, and I realize another month off here, another month off there, another, not running, not rucking, not lifting here or there would have made all the difference in the way my shoulder currently is now, the way my knees currently are now, my back, my foot, my neck, a lot of other things. So you're going to be able to do it. And you did it when you fought Rafael, and you've done it in other fights as well. That does catch up to all of us in the end. And not only does it catch up because of the injury that you are working through and that you're not allowing that injury to heal, but you also have something called the kinetic chain. So your body will make up for that injury in other ways. Like you talked about having to hop up the steps. So you were putting a lot more stress in the uninjured leg, which meant you were putting twice as much stress in that hip, in that knee, on that ankle, on the muscles in that leg. And that's where you start to get the problems later. That's because I walked through an unhealed fracture in my left foot is the reason that I have all of the right ankle and right knee problems that I have. And I don't think that's something that can be emphasized enough, that you do, know the difference between pain and injury. But if this is the way I kind of subdivide it. If something is sore when you get out of bed, but feels better as you work it out throughout the day, that's something that you can deal with. That's your body's way of telling you just need to work through it. If something continues to feel worse, if it feels worse on mile 5 than it did on mile 2, that's your body's way of saying, we don't want you to progress. You need to stop. This isn't soreness to be worked out. This is a legitimate injury. And I'm speaking in very broad terms. So obviously, if you do have an injury or a potential injury that you're questioning out there, you do need to have somebody lay hands on that, possibly pass radiation through it and do a radiograph and get a good idea for what's going on.
It's while medicine and science plays into all of this, every human is different. The 7 billion of us, every day from the time that we come out, make slightly different choices about how our body's built. What nutrients we've fed it, what stresses we've put it under. One of the very significant commonalities, though, is that our bodies are all very adaptive. If you want to be a marathon runner, the same species, a human, can go and run 26.2 miles, or it can be a power lifter that's deadlifting 1,000 pounds, or that's going and clean snatching insane amounts, 4 times their body weight. The human body can adapt, but the only way that it can adapt is if you put it under the right conditions and stresses. That's how the muscles get stronger, is you hurt them. You break them, and then they come back and they go, oh man, that sucked. For that to suck less tomorrow, I have to be a little bit stronger. And if you're a runner, if you're like, man, that 7-minute mile, that really, really hurt. I don't want that to hurt so bad the next time I do it. So I'm going to prepare these muscles a little bit differently and make it a little bit more efficient so it doesn't suck as bad. But then you're clever and you're sadistic. So then you're going to run a 6:55. So then your body's going to be like, oh man, that 6:55 sucked. I want to adapt and be able to have that not hurt so bad. So you got to make some choices. You have Lucy. You have some explaining to do. You have to choose what you want the end result to be, and then you got to find the programming that's right. So Mike and I, right before we hung, we're talking about like doing and creating a warrior, a sheepdog program. But man, everybody's just a little bit different. So we've been kicking this around for a couple of months because we want it to be right, but it can't be necessarily the exact same for everybody. A PJ, an Air Force guy that's going to, maybe have a long walk to go grab a pilot and then put him in a litter and then drag him back and maybe get in a gunfight before he gets picked up, is going to be a little bit different than the SWAT officer that just got all he has to do on a felony warrant is get out of his little cool van or Suburban, walk up to the door, kick the door, throw some cuffs on some dude. I'm obviously belittling a very important job, but they're vastly different physical requirements. While there are some similarities between them, you have to choose what you want the end result to be. So it's one of the things that I love about training on it, and one of the things I love about training at Atomic Athlete is the coaches are brilliant. I think they're some of the best and brightest in the world. Having friends like Mike and having friends like Jocko and Joe Rogan, where we can have these conversations to say, okay, man, this is what I'm doing. This is what I got coming up. I just got back from this trip in Norway, and where I was diving and climbing and spelunking, and things went wrong. And I came back and I talked to my coaches, and I was like, man, I got stuck in a cave, with stuff crumbling around me. And it was no longer being hard to kill. It was being able to be tough, mentally strong, and knowing how to survive. And that might be a little bit different, subtly different, but slightly, just a little bit different. So, man, I had to get focused. I had, coming back from this trip, talking to my coaches, and I was just honest with them. I was open. I was exposed. I was raw. I was talking to Todd and to Jordan and to Paulo. I said, man, I wasn't scared, but I realized that this could go very poorly, and that I was not unprepared, but I wasn't perfectly prepared because, I'd been a professional athlete for 17, 18 years, and I'm not going to be fighting anymore. So I've been focusing on being a big, strong, door-kicking dude, and maybe a little unfocused in my training. And this brought me home. This woke me up and reminded me about who I am and what I've chosen to do for a living. And there's no greater thing than giving your life for somebody else. As Patton said, that it's not our job to die for our country. It's our job to make the other poor bastard die for his. If I'm going to be in a situation where I'm going to die trying to protect my friends, my brothers, my sisters to my left and my right standing with me in this fight, man, it's going to be hell. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a big, gigantic, bloody pile of brass with bodies all around us because I've prepared for that moment. And I'm going to be focused and disciplined in every single training session from now until that day. And that's where I am right now. I want to be perfect in my training regiment. I want to be perfect in my diet. I want to be perfect in my sleep. I want to be a generous lover. Because that's important too. Don't think that sex isn't important, especially for not only male athletes, but particularly for a lot of male athletes. I'm going to be doing everything perfectly. I'm not going to be at 5% body fat like I was when I was fighting. I'm going to be at 8, because that 8% gives me that little bit extra in reserve to go a little bit longer, to know I'm not going to be running a 4:30 mile, but I'm going to be able to run a 5:30 10 times. I've recentered what a warrior's physical training should look like. And I think Mike and I in the very near future, we're gonna try to share, in our opinion, what that should look like for you guys. This has been very philosophical. This has been not existential, but we've been broad strokes about these ideas, these concepts of training like a warrior. But hopefully we can get more detailed. Like, I can't create a program for everybody, but this is a start.
We will get into the weeds in the very near future, but for those of you that just can't wait for that you need some information to walk away with today, I'm going to springboard off of the point that Tim was making about challenging yourself. And there is a theory out there in fitness that basically what's going on in your body is a microcosm of survival of the fittest, a microcosm of evolution, in that you have to threaten your body. Your body has to think it is literally fighting for its life in order to progress to the next level. And this was best illustrated in a book that you guys have heard me talk about before. It's called The Program, Personal Evolution, by Dr. Andrew Wingy, a close friend of mine. And that book is for sale at thesheepdogstore.com. I highly encourage you to check it out. It is a wealth of diet, nutrition, fitness, and overall well-being philosophy information. Drew Wingy is dual board certified in emergency medicine and in family medicine. He's also done various programs in bariatric medicine, in age management, sports medicine. He's deployed in combat multiple times. He's also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt, and all around, in spite of multiple injuries from being a collegiate level athlete over the years, he's maintained a very high state of fitness. So he is somebody who talks the talk and walks the walk. So I'm going to leave you with that advice. And then right before we sign off, I want to emphasize one more time, especially the New Jersey courses, because we don't get up into the Northeast as much. That's the big complaint that we get on social media all the time, is you guys bounce back and forth between Oklahoma, Texas, Utah, Nevada. Hey, how about some love for the East Coast? How about especially for the Northeast? Well, this is your chance. So if you are anywhere in the tri-state area or even a little bit beyond, in New Jersey, September 20th through 21st of 2017 is our law enforcement and military only course. And the level 1 course open to anyone is September 22nd through 24th, again, also in New Jersey. So make sure you guys check that out. Tim, you got anything else to say before we go?
No, miss, go right now. Get up, go train. I enjoyed my viewing party of a television show that I like. Had my buddy show up with a broadsword and a big old fur coat. Arya Stark is definitely my spirit animal.
Oh yeah.
But when's the best time to start? It's right now. Right now. Get up, go train. Anything is better than nothing. And that anything that you're doing, as you start doing it, the more you do it, the better it'll get, the easier it'll get, the faster you're going to get, the stronger you're going to get, the more your body's going to tell you what it should eat, the more your body's going to tell you how it needs to sleep, the more your body's going to tell you how it needs to recover. You're going to want your spouse, your significant other, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever. You're going to want them more, because there's going to be that hunger inside of you that wants to be fed in lots of different ways. And then you're going to get up and you're going to do it again.
Absolutely.
So just go right now.
And I talked about the interaction that Tim and I had with Hoyler Gracie this weekend. And although Hoyler, if you've ever been to one of his seminars, he has a lot of amazing quotes. It's really hard to find any of them online, so I didn't have a specific quote to sign off from Hoyler today. So I'm going to go to his brother Hoyce, sign off with a quote from him. And I think it's particularly appropriate considering what we talked about today, and fitness and personal responsibility. And here it is. A black belt only covers 2 inches of your ass. You have to cover the rest. From Hoist Gracie. Remember that. And until next time, everybody, be a sheepdog.
You have been listening to the Sheepdog Project. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/sheepdog response. The views expressed on this podcast are those of the individual and do not represent any larger entity, public or private.